Chapter 17. Is she really going to do it? Dina asked. Tracy, standing in her kitchen, her back against the yellow wallpaper, twisted the phone cord around her wrist. I don't know, she replied quietly. What do you think? On the other end of the line, Dina remained silent. Tracy could hear only a loud crackling sound. What's that noise? Tracy asked, freeing her hand from the cord, then tangling it around her wrist again. Oh, sorry, Dina said. I'm chewing gum. So loud? Tracy demanded. I guess I'm nervous or something, Dina admitted. Hold on. She removed the wad of blue bubble gum from her mouth and set it down on her desk beside the phone. I think Brenda is very serious, Tracy said, tracing the name Brenda on the kitchen wall with her finger. I think she's going ahead with the plan. When did you talk to her about it? Dina demanded anxiously. Well, I talked to her yesterday at lunch, but we didn't talk about Hallie, Tracy replied. She didn't mention Hallie? Dina asked. No, not once. So maybe Brenda's decided not to go ahead with it, Dina said. She picked up the blue wad of gum and nervously stuck it and unstuck it to the desktop. No, I really think all systems are go, Tracy said dryly. Dina uttered a soft moan. I'm just so scared for her, Tracy. Shouldn't we do something? Like what? Tracy demanded, fingering the name Hallie on the yellow wallpaper. Like call the police? Dina asked, her shrill voice revealing her fear. They wouldn't believe it, Tracy said coolly, and Brenda would just deny it. Well, maybe we should warn Hallie, Dina suggested, or tell Brenda's parents what Brenda is planning to do. They wouldn't believe it either, Tracy said. They would never believe that Brenda was planning to murder Hallie. But if we tell them the whole thing? If we tell them the whole thing, Tracy interrupted, Brenda will say the murder plot is just a school assignment. She'll show them the paper we wrote up, and that will be that. There was a long silence at Dina's end. I'm just so scared, she said finally. Tracy snickered. I feel bad for Ted. That's such a mean trick Brenda is playing on him, having him come to the party in a Frankenstein costume. I know, Dina replied. If anyone sees the Frankenstein stab the gorilla, they'll think Ted did it. Brenda really has a cold sense of humor, Tracy said, tracing the word cold on the wall with her finger. I keep thinking maybe I'll stay home, Dina said. I mean, just skip the party. But you're not involved, Tracy told her. I don't want to witness a murder, Dina exclaimed. Are you and Brenda still trading costumes? Yeah, Tracy told her. I'm going to be the clown. She's going to be the peacock. Dina groaned. She's going to do it, I know it. Tracy remained silent. What are you thinking? Dina demanded. Come on, spill. What are you thinking, Tracy? I was thinking about Noah, Tracy admitted after a long pause. And then she added bitterly, the little rat. She heard a sharp intake of breath on Dina's end of the line. You want Brenda to kill Hallie, don't you? Dina accused. You really want her to go ahead with it? Yeah, maybe I do, Tracy confessed. What a mess, Brenda declared. Well, we're done, Hallie said. That's the last one. Brenda raised her hands in the air. They were covered with shreds of orange pumpkin. Glancing down, she saw that the sleeve of her sweater was stained orange. Look at that gunk, Hallie exclaimed, pointing to the pile of pumpkin flesh and seeds on the newspaper, which she had spread over the kitchen table. Brenda laughed. You have seeds in your hair. Hallie pointed at Brenda. You have pumpkin stuff on your forehead? They both laughed. Whose idea was this anyway? Brenda asked, rolling her eyes. I mean, 6 jack-o'-lanterns? I have to be crazy. Well, we did it, Hallie proclaimed happily. Whew, I'm totally wrecked. Both girls raised their eyes to the 6 grinning jack-o'-lanterns lined up across from them on the table. What an ugly mob scene, Brenda said, shaking her head. They'll look so pretty when they're lit up, Hallie remarked. Where are you going to put them? On the floor, against the living room wall, Brenda told her, and I'm going to turn off all the lamps, so the only light in the room will come from the jack-o'-lanterns. It'll be neat, Hallie said, straightening the top on one of the pumpkins. That one is totally lopsided, Brenda said, frowning. It gives it character, Hallie said. I think he's the scariest of the bunch. What makes you think it's a he? Brenda demanded. They both laughed again. We've been getting along so well, Brenda thought. Hallie has been such a big help this afternoon. Want to roast some pumpkin seeds? Hallie asked, running her hand over the big pile of seeds. No way, Brenda protested, making a face. I never want to see a pumpkin or a pumpkin seed again, really. By the time they cleaned up and carried the 6 pumpkins into the living room, they were even more covered with orange shreds. First shower, Brenda cried. Hallie pulled a wet pumpkin seed from her hair. Okay, but hurry, she told her cousin. This stuff is starting to smell. Yuck! Brenda hurried upstairs, her mind whirring with thoughts of the party. I'll put the hot cider on the table by the front door, she told herself. That way, kids can help themselves to cider as soon as they walk in. Then they'll walk into the dark living room, lit only by the candlelight from the 6 jack-o'-lanterns. That's going to be so neat, Brenda thought, a pleased smile forming on her face. She and Hallie had strung long ribbons of black and orange crepe, crisscrossing them over the room to form a low ceiling. It'll look spooky in the dark, Brenda told herself. Black crepe. She pictured the long spools of black crepe. Like at a funeral, she thought. With all the preparations, Brenda had almost forgotten about her plan. Her smile fading, she entered her room to get undressed for her shower. The clown costume was suspended on a hanger over the closet door. After my shower, I'll take it over to Tracy's and make the switch with her, she thought grimly. She turned away from the closet door and gasped. Randy, she shrieked. Her brother lay sprawled face down on the bed, his arms and legs outstretched, a dark puddle of blood beside him on the bedspread. Chapter 18. Randy? Brenda's throat tightened, cutting off her breath. Her knees buckled and she grabbed the top of her desk to keep from falling. This isn't happening, she thought. My little brother isn't lying on my bed in a pool of blood. She blinked several times, trying to clear away the image. Randy? Her voice was a choked whisper. Gasping for air, she stumbled toward her bed, and as she began to lean over her brother, her hands reaching for his shoulders, he raised his head from the pink bedspread and grinned at her. Gotcha, he said softly. No, Brenda cried, relief mixed with astonishment. Randy uttered a high-pitched, gleeful giggle and began flopping around on her bed like a crazed fish. How could you? Brenda shrieked, reaching for him and missing. You scared me to death. Her cries of protest made Randy laugh even more joyfully. He flung himself down, bounced up, flung himself down again, using her bed for a trampoline. As he jumped, reaching his hands up to touch the ceiling, the puddle of blood bounced off the bed and landed on the white shag rug. Brenda picked it up and examined it. Plastic blood, she cried, waving it accusingly at her bouncing brother. I don't believe I fell for plastic blood. I got it at the party store, Randy told her. It looks real, doesn't it? He grinned at her, a triumphant grin. Get out of here, Brenda cried impatiently. Off my bed. Come on, out. It took her several minutes to get him to stop bouncing. Finally, he ran out of the room yelling, Gotcha, 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 all the way down the stairs. Brenda shook her head, letting her breath out slowly. What a scare. And just think, she told herself wistfully, tomorrow will be even scarier. The guests began arriving a little after 8 o'clock the next night. By 9 o'clock, the shadowy living room was bursting with masked kids in an astounding array of costumes. Brenda counted 2 Freddy Kruegers, complete with long, lifelike metal fingers, 2 mummies, who both started to come unraveled soon after arriving, and 2 kids wearing dark suits and masks of the President of the United States. One girl, a senior named Alyssa, didn't appear to be in costume. She was wearing a very short, silky blue party dress, but no mask. Who are you supposed to be? Brenda asked her, having to shout from behind her mask. I'm Cindy Crawford, Alyssa replied, pointing to the mole she had painted above her upper lip. Brenda laughed. Nice costume. The party was going well. The sweet aroma of the hot mulled cider floated over the room. The row of jack-o'-lanterns against the wall glowed eerily, casting strange shadows along the floor, sending flickering light up to the crepe paper ceiling just above everyone's heads. Music pounded from the stereo. The gorilla circulated through the room, carrying a tray of tiny hot dogs and rolls. The monk stood hunched beside the fireplace, masked beneath her heavy dark hood, leaning close to hear what a masked Princess Di was saying to her. People kept running their hands over the tail feathers of the peacock, much to the peacock's consternation. Finding it hard to move around in a crowded room, the peacock eventually removed the tail, tossing it into the downstairs bedroom where all the coats had been draped over the bed. Half an hour later, the crowded room had become hot and steamy. The candles in the jack-o'-lanterns had lowered. The grinning pumpkin heads sent out dim, flickering light over the dancing couples. Having served the last of the cocktail hot dogs, the gorilla sat in a folding chair against the wall. The clown danced energetically across the room with one of the mummies. One of the Frankensteins had his arm around the bare shoulders of Cindy Crawford. No one paid any attention as another Frankenstein stepped up beside the gorilla's chair. No one saw the gleam of the kitchen knife in the Frankenstein's hand as it caught a flicker of candlelight from the grinning jack-o'-lanterns. Frankenstein's hand moved quickly, a swift sideways move, and the knife blade plunged into the gorilla's chest. No one could hear the gorilla's strangled cry from beneath the heavy mask. Its arms shot straight out. It tried to rise. Then it dropped heavily back onto the chair as the knife was pulled out. In the flickering orange light, no one saw the gorilla's head slump forward on its chest, and no one paid any attention as the Frankenstein monster slipped quietly away into the deep shadows. Chapter 19. Hey, look out! Someone screamed as one of the presidents stumbled backwards, accidentally kicking over the jack-o'-lantern. You'll set the rug on fire. The jack-o'-lantern grinned its jagged grin sideways now, its orange light flickering dimly. A long-nosed witch bent to roll the pumpkin right side up. Someone changed the music to a frantic rap song. One of the black crepe streamers pulled loose from its tape and floated down over the dancers in the middle of the room. Kids began pulling at it, stretching it until it tore, and then pulling down all the crepe streamers became the game of the moment. In seconds, the room was cluttered with torn scraps of black and orange, and everyone was laughing, until a scream cut through the laughter. At first, it sounded like part of the music. The scream repeated itself, rising over the angry rhythmic rapping. And then someone cut the stereo off, and the screams continued. And everyone searched the shadowy room for the source of the screams, and saw the long-nosed witch tear off her rubber mask and point to the gorilla, slumped at such an odd angle in a folding chair. "There's blood!" the witch cried, pointing to a dark puddle beneath the gorilla's chair. Another scream, cries of confusion, hushed whispers. The entire room seemed to freeze in horror. Only the shadows moved as the candles flickered at the floor. The hushed whispers faded into silence. The witch stared down at the puddle of blood, and all eyes followed her horrified gaze. Someone laughed, a high-pitched laugh, a forced laugh. "It's a joke!" one of the mummies cried. Someone else laughed. Voices rose in the heavy air. "Sit up!" someone called to the gorilla. "What a goof!" "Yeah, it's a joke." "I knew it. I wasn't scared." "Who is it? Take off your mask." "You can get up now. You scared us already." "Who is it? Is it Brenda's cousin?" "Yeah, it's Hallie. Get up, Hallie." But the gorilla didn't move. And suddenly, a figure was moving quickly through the room. The white-faced clown made his way up to the chair, arms outstretched. "Hallie?" the clown cried, and began to shake the gorilla by the shoulders. "Hallie? Hallie?" Letting go of the hairy shoulders, the clown wrapped both hands around the top of the gorilla mask and tugged. The mask pulled up easily. The room echoed with screams as the face underneath was revealed. Eyes closed, mouth gaping open, copper-colored hair falling beneath the lifeless head. "It's Brenda!" the clown shrieked. "Oh no, it's Brenda! And she's dead." Chapter 20. "No!" A shrill scream cut through the shocked silence. "Not Brenda! No, not Brenda!" As the clown grasped the gorilla mask, Brenda's head fell against the chalkboard with a hard thunk. She's been stabbed!" the clown managed to choke out. The gorilla mask fell from her hands and bounced on the carpet beside the puddle of blood. Screams and cries. The clown tore off her mask, revealing that she was Tracy. Her eyes were wide with horror. She gasped for breath. "Not Brenda! It can't be Brenda!" she cried. "Tracy, you're wearing Brenda's costume!" someone yelled. "Yeah, Tracy tried to reply, but her throat tightened, choking off her words. "Somebody call the police. Call 911. Frightened voices competed with sobs of horror. "Brenda? Brenda?" Tracy shook the lifeless figure again by the shoulders. Brenda's head bounced against the chair back. Suddenly, the dark-robed monk burst through the tight crowd. Dina tossed back her hood. Her eyes were narrowed with fury. Raising her robed arm, she pointed an accusing finger at Tracy. "You killed her, Tracy," Dina declared. "You and your stupid murder plot. You killed Brenda." Chapter 21. The cries faded. The voices grew silent as if the horror in the room had swallowed up all sound. Brenda sat slumped in the stiff-backed chair, her pale face rising above the dark fur of the costume. Tracy and Dina faced each other from opposing sides of the lifeless body. "You killed her, Tracy?" Dina repeated. Tracy shrank back, hands to her face, eyes wide in disbelief. The light flickered across the white front of the clown suit Brenda had so carefully sewn. "No," Tracy replied to Dina in a trembling voice. "I didn't kill anyone." A third figure moved to the front of the room. The peacock darted forward, removing the blue and green mask to reveal a bewildered-looking Hallie. "She forced me," Hallie cried, her eyes on Brenda. "Brenda forced me to switch costumes with her. I didn't understand why." "Whoa," Tracy interrupted, staring suspiciously at Hallie. "Brenda traded costumes with me. She took my peacock costume, and I took the clown costume." "And then she gave me the peacock costume," Hallie wailed. She made me trade. Brenda took the gorilla suit. But why? Tracy cried. Tracy, you idiot, Dina shrieked in fury. You thought you were killing Hallie, and you stabbed your best friend instead? No! Tracy uttered a shrill cry. She leapt to attack Dina, but Dina fell back against the fireplace. Stop! Stop it! Stop! Hallie shrieked. And suddenly Tracy was staring at Hallie, her eyes narrowed in suspicion. It was you, wasn't it? Huh? Hallie's eyes widened in surprise. You forced Brenda to switch costumes with you, didn't you, Hallie? No way, Hallie screamed, her hands forming tight fists at her side. No way, Tracy. That's not the way it happened. Yes, Tracy insisted, advancing on Hallie. You made Brenda take the gorilla suit, Hallie, and then you stabbed her. Did someone call 911? A girl cried. Where are Brenda's parents? Did someone call her parents? Tracy and Hallie stared at each other, their features set in accusation. I didn't stab anyone, Hallie declared through clenched teeth. You plotted to kill me, Tracy. I heard you. I heard every word, but your plot backfired. You killed the wrong girl. Oh no, Tracy protested. No, no, no. She took a menacing step toward Hallie. It wasn't me. How could I change into a Frankenstein costume so quickly? I couldn't. Frankenstein costume, someone shouted. Frankenstein? Yes, Tracy declared. Brenda was stabbed by someone in a Frankenstein costume. She lowered her voice sadly. It was part of her plot. Then it was Ted, Dina declared. Ted stabbed Brenda? Cries of surprise rang through the room. There are 2 Frankensteins here, Tracy said. One of them is Ted. Where are you, Ted? Ted? 2 Frankensteins stepped forward reluctantly. They lifted their masks. Tracy recognized Brad Mitchell and Tony Alexander. Ted? Where are you, Ted? Tracy cried. He's gone, Dina exclaimed. I knew he was the killer. Chapter 22. Has anyone seen Ted? Hallie cried. Hushed voices, whispers. Someone was crying in the back of the room. A mummy stepped forward, tugging away the gauze around his face. Ted isn't here, he said. Noah, you're here? Tracy cried. Ted is home. He has the flu, Noah reported. He's homesick. You can call his house. His parents will tell you. But that's impossible, Tracy declared. He was supposed to be here, in the Frankenstein costume, and... He couldn't come, Noah said, staring at Brenda sprawled in the chair. He has the flu. It's true, Tracy. Noah's face froze in horror. He tried to cry out, but no sound would come from his throat. Slowly, he raised his trembling hands to point toward the chair. All eyes followed his terrified gaze. The room echoed with screams and startled cries. In the straight-backed chair, Brenda moved. At first, it appeared to be the flickering of shadows from the bending candlelight, but no, the corpse was moving. Brenda slowly raised her head above the dark gorilla body. She blinked and closed her mouth. Slowly, Brenda sat up and stared into the startled faces of her friends. Happy Halloween, Brenda told them in a lifeless, dry voice, so bitter, so angry. Chapter 23. The joke is over, and so is the party, Brenda announced, climbing to her feet. She picked up the plastic puddle of blood from the floor and raised it high to show everyone it wasn't real. The room filled with startled screams and cries. She's alive. It was just a joke. How could she? I don't believe it. Brenda, are you okay? What's the big idea? She wasn't stabbed? Ignoring the outcry, Brenda grabbed Hallie's shoulders and pulled her close. Hallie, get everyone out of here, okay? Tell them all to go home. Hallie nodded solemnly and turned to obey Brenda's instructions. Muttering in surprising confusion, the guests began gathering their coats and preparing to leave. As Hallie ushered them out, Brenda made her way into the kitchen, waddling heavily in the furry gorilla suit, followed by Tracy and Dina. In the harsh kitchen light, their faces were red and perspiring. All 3 of them were breathing hard. All 3 started talking at once. You're alive, Brenda, you're alive, Dina declared, her brown hair matted with sweat against her forehead. The plot is over, Brenda said coldly, training her eyes first on Dina, then looking at Tracy. I know which one of you tried to kill me. But Brenda, Tracy protested, her eyes wide with shock. Without warning, Brenda lunged forward. She grabbed the front of Dina's monk robe and ripped it open. I knew it, Brenda cried, her eyes on the green costume underneath. Dina pulled angrily from Brenda's grasp. All 3 girls cried out as a rubber mask fell out of the sleeve of Dina's robe. It bounced to the linoleum and stared up at them, a green and black Frankenstein mask. I stabbed you, Dina cried, turning her furious glance on Brenda. I stabbed you, Brenda. Why aren't you dead? A bitter smile crossed Brenda's lips. I knew it was you, Dina, she uttered in a low whisper. Why aren't you dead? Dina wailed. Why? I'm a good seamstress, remember? Brenda replied, her eyes burning angrily into Dina's. She patted the front of her costume. I sewed a double-thick pad of foam rubber into this gorilla suit. Dina groaned in anger. She glared at Brenda. How did you know? How did you know it was me? All those horrible things you did to me, Dina, Brenda replied, her voice revealing more sadness than anger. All those horrible things. You were supposed to think it was Hallie, Dina cried bitterly. Brenda shook her head. At first, I did think it was Hallie, Brenda admitted, but then I realized, Dina, I realized it was you. How? Dina demanded, backing toward the kitchen door. How did you know? The blood on the wall, Brenda said, her eyes narrowed on Dina. It had to be animal blood, the headless bird in a pumpkin, another animal, the chunks of rotten meat in my bed. They were dog food, spoiled dog food. She swallowed hard. I put it together, Dina. Your job. After school every day at the veterinarian's office. It was easy for you to get that stuff. You knew? Dina cried, unable to conceal her shock. You knew before the party? Suddenly, Hallie burst into the room, her hair wild about her head, her face scarlet. Everyone's gone, she announced. Then she turned on Dina. What did I ever do to you? Dina ignored her, glaring coldly at Brenda. You thought I was in the gorilla suit, Hallie cried. You thought you were stabbing me, Dina. Why? I just don't get it. Dina remained silent. Finally, she turned to Hallie. I knew you weren't in the gorilla suit. I listened at the air vent. I heard you and Brenda trade costumes. I knew I was stabbing Brenda. Brenda deserves to die. Why, Dina? Tracy demanded, gripping the kitchen counter. Brenda is your friend. She... No, Dina exploded. She wasn't my friend when I needed her. Huh? Tracy and Brenda both reacted with shock. When my parents were getting divorced? When they were fighting in court over me? Where were you then, Brenda? She demanded, spitting the words with rage. Where were you then? You abandoned me? You disappeared? You dropped me, didn't you, when I needed you the most? But, Dina, Brenda was too shocked to think clearly. And then I saw you doing the same thing to Hallie, Dina accused, her features twisted in rage. I saw you shutting her out when she needed you, when she was in the same kind of trouble I'd been in, and it brought it all back, Brenda. It brought it all back, and I knew I had to make you pay. Brenda felt a wave of guilt sweep away her anger. Dina, I didn't realize, she started. Save the apologies, Dina snarled. I wanted to frighten you, Brenda. I wanted to show you what it was like to be so frightened you can't stand it, so frightened you can't think straight. Dina's chest heaved. She gasped for air. I wasn't going to kill you. I just wanted to scare you. But killing was your idea. When you and Tracy decided to really kill Hallie, you gave me the idea. You put the idea in my head. That's when I knew I had to kill you, Brenda. But, Dina, Brenda replied, taking a step toward her. Tracy and I never planned to murder Hallie. That was just a trick to draw you out. That whole plot to murder Hallie, it wasn't real. It was all for your benefit. We never planned to stab Hallie. We just wanted to trick you into confessing. But we never thought you'd really stab Brenda, Tracy stammered. I still want to kill you, Dina raged. I do, I really do. She uttered a snarl of rage and shoved Brenda hard against the kitchen counter. Then she took off, running into the living room, her heavy monk robe flowing beneath her. Brenda, Tracy, and Hallie darted after her. Dina, stop, Brenda called, into the shadowy living room. Dina was nearly across the room when she stumbled over one of the flickering jack-o'-lanterns. She uttered an angry cry as she toppled forward onto the floor. Dina, wait! Tangled in a long robe, Dina struggled to climb to her feet. Let me go, she shrieked. She reached down, tried to untangle the robe, and stared into the tilted jack-o'-lantern. It grinned up at her, a jagged, laughing, evil grin. Staring into its glowing eyes, Dina began to scream. Shrieking and sobbing, she struggled toward the front door, crawling on her hands and knees. And then, 2 dark uniformed policemen were in the doorway, blocking Dina's path. What's going on here? Who called 911? I feel so bad, Brenda said later, her hands around a white mug of steaming hot chocolate. I had no idea Dina had such resentment, such hatred. I didn't deliberately drop Dina as a friend when her parents were divorcing. It was all such a mess back then. I really thought she wanted to be alone. Hallie shook her head sadly. She was seated across from Brenda at the kitchen table. She took a sip of her hot chocolate. Ow, it's hot! The house was silent. Everyone else had gone. Brenda's parents were picking up Randy at his friend's house and would soon be home. The police were very gentle and understanding with Dina, Hallie said quietly, staring into her cup. She'll get the help she needs, Brenda said. She raised her mug and held it up toward her cousin. "Happy Halloween," she said wearily. Hallie raised her mug and clicked it against Brenda's. "It is a happy Halloween in a way," she said thoughtfully. "At least, things are different now. I mean, between you and me." "Yeah, I guess you could say that you and I have finally taken off our masks," Brenda replied. Hallie sighed and gazed toward the cluttered living room. "Let's clean up tomorrow," she said. Brenda laughed. "I think we're starting to understand each other really well." This has been a Nightfall Audiobooks production of Halloween Night by R.L. Stine, a point horror novel, Book 12. Hi, this is Chris again with Nightfall Audiobooks. Thank you very much for joining me for my production of Halloween Night by R.L. Stine from the Point Horror series. The characters spend all this time fretting about this writing assignment and how it's supposed to be about a murder plot on how to kill someone. I don't think that's the real assignment. I don't see any teacher saying, "Okay, plot someone's demise." No, that's just unusual, especially high school. Then again, it was the 90s, but I really don't think this was the case here. I think the three friends took the writing assignment and they ran with it. But when did they actually sit down to write the plot? Every time they get together, they can't concentrate, or Randy interrupts, or something else happens, and then they just put things off, and they never sit down and actually hammer out the details. What exactly are the details? That there will be a Halloween party, and we're going to have everyone change costumes? Someone's going to stab the gorilla, because the gorilla should be Hallie, and Hallie needs to die, because she moved into Brenda's house and started ruining her life. That was a pretty crappy thing for Hallie to move into Brenda's house, steal her boyfriend, steal Tracy's boyfriend, have them fight over her. That's insane. And then she smashed up Brenda's car. Even if that was a true accident, I can side with Brenda going bananas and wanting to beat the living crap out of Hallie. Hallie was taking Brenda's car at any given opportunity and just driving it around like it was hers, and her parents kept on siding with Hallie going, "Hey, it's no big deal, you weren't using it, she can use it." If that's really Brenda's car, then the parents have no right to give that away for someone else to use. Family or not. That's pretty rude. I knew that the vent in the floor was going to be a big deal. Apparently it's a straight through right to the floor below it. I don't know why they designed the house that way, whatever, but it allows someone to eavesdrop very easily, and time again, we are informed about how that vent allows someone underneath of it to hear the conversations in Brenda's room quite clearly as if you're standing right there. But then they keep on plotting the murder in Brenda's room, so anyone can listen in and get an idea of what they're doing. What about Randy? What if Randy was in a gorilla costume? What about the parents? Wouldn't they go, "Hey, something's going on here. This is more than just a writing assignment. There's something actually here. We should get someone involved. We should at least say something. We should at least sit Brenda down and say, 'Hey, are you okay? What's really going on?'" But they don't seem to want to do that. They just hide with Hallie and go, "Hey, Brenda, you gotta be nicer to your cousin. She's going through a tough time, you know." I don't get the part at the end either with Dina. It's really hard to believe that Dina's motivation for killing Brenda was during her parents' divorce, Brenda stopped being Dina's friend. That's discussed very lightly, where Brenda remembers how bad Dina's divorce was and how they stopped being friends because she thought that Dina wanted to be left alone during that time. Okay, that's fine. All Brenda had to say was, "Hey, I'm sorry, Dina, I thought you wanted your space. I should have been a better friend." That's it. No motivation to kill anyone. This is such a mess of a book. Do I recommend this novel? No, not really. We spend the entire novel building up to this Halloween party, and then when we get there, the plot just goes into spaghetti and it doesn't turn out very well at the end. Dina is not a very good antagonist, and her motivation is extremely weak. Halloween Party by R.L. Stine from the Fear Street series is much better than this. So what should I read next? I don't know. Send me an email, nightfallaudiobooks@gmail.com. I am also at home right here on YouTube at Nightfall Audiobooks. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe, and hit the join button to show your support. Any help is greatly appreciated. I really do mean that. I also have a Patreon page, patreon.com/nightfallaudiobooks. So tell your friends, tell your mom, tell whoever you think would like to listen to me tell them tales from R.L. Stine. Thank you very much for listening, and I will see you next time.